Let's go next to Bruce Brown, member of the world champion Denver Nuggets, who leaves. 2 years, $45 million. He goes to Indy. Bill, why just 2 years? Translate this for me. And I understand Denver didn't have a lot of, couldn't give him 22.5. So it wasn't like Denver didn't want him. They just didn't have this kind of money to match. Why only 2 years here?
Like with all things, it's about the money. So Brown is what? I think he's 26 years old, right? He's relatively young. 2 years from now, not coincidentally, the current TV agreement between the NBA and its partners is going to expire, and that new TV agreement will almost certainly be worth a lot more money. Players get, I think it's half, maybe a little more than that, of the basketball-related income. So you're going to see a huge influx of money and a huge increase in salaries, potentially, almost certainly, in a couple years. So I think this is Bruce Brown saying, all right, I'm going to get a bunch of money from the Pacers. They're sort of interesting. And in 2 years, I can reassess my skill level as a 28-year-old in the market and potentially make even more money when salaries go up.
All right, so betting on himself is basically it. Bill, you do a lot of writing and have in your career, and editors write your headline for you. Now be the editor for this. Is the headline Bruce Brown goes to Indy, or is the headline Denver loses Bruce Brown?
I think it's Bruce Brown. Well, look, headline writers are going to write Bruce Brown leaves Denver because that is the bigger story because they were a contender. But this was always going to be the case. I mean, just the Nuggets were not going to be able to offer him even remotely in the neighborhood of the amount of money that he's currently making or other teams could provide him. Not a surprise, not news that he left Denver. Pretty surprising. I mean, I know this picked up momentum in the last 24 hours talking to some folks, although, frankly, guys, I didn't believe it even when I started to hear it. A little surprising he's going to Indy. Now, they have a lot of cap space. There's a thought they're going to be ambitious, but I think the headline, EK, is world champion goes to Pacers for the money.
Coach, what do you make of this signing? I mean, it's interesting when a guy who comes off the bench, you know, what's that mindset? I assume now they're not paying him this money to come off the bench. He's going to be part of their, you know, the starting lineup in Indiana. I mean, I can't say for certain, but I would assume that's the case. How do you make this transition as a player? Is it easy? Is it hard? Tell me about Bruce Brown and his new role here.
Well, Nike, I know Mike Malone, his old coach, is very disappointed because you remember at the parade, he said both he and Bruce Brown was coming back to all of those fans. So I know he's disappointed. But Bruce Brown, this is still about Bruce Brown coming off the bench. When you look at Tyrese Halliburton and you look at these Ben Mathurin, the young backcourt, you know, they still have Buddy Hield. You got some guys there, Chris Duarte from Oregon. Still a lot of young players, but they need Bruce Brown to be that sixth man, to be that champion coming off the bench, and to add some defense to this backcourt. A lot of those guys are not great defenders. They're not as competitive. Bruce Brown has really remade his entire career. You could leave him open when he was playing for the Brooklyn Nets, and he transformed his game with the Denver Nuggets. So even though it's a 2-year deal, I agree with Bill on the short-term nature of this deal, but this is not necessarily to insert Bruce Brown into the starting lineup, but to provide reinforcements with that bench and to lead that bench to provide a quality, efficient depth for Rick Carlisle and this team.